Hi guys, and welcome to my penultimate recording and streaming guide. In this video I'll cover Dxtory, virtual audio cable, Xsplit and open broadcaster software, which is quite new. In the description below I'll provide fast links to each section. I've not seen this tutorial anywhere out there. It's quite a different way of doing things, but I apologise if someone has already done it. This way is great if you want to record and stream at the same time, but your computer's not the best. My computer struggles to play Battlefield 4, record in 1080p and then stream in 1080p, so I use this method and it seems to work a lot better. First piece of equipment I'm going to go over is Dxtory. It's a great piece of software. It's very similar to Fraps, probably a bit better. It's the same price I think actually. I bought Fraps a very long time ago, that's what I'm using to record this desktop. I'm pretty pleased with Fraps, you know, paid it once and it's lasted me several years. I had it since the days of Battlefield 2, but it can be very CPU intensive. Still haven't really found the right settings, but this Dxtory is the new sort of thing. It's coming in £20 for a license, £20 to £30 I think for a license, and it's great, and it can be an output for your streaming software, so that your streaming software doesn't have to do all the work. And it's very good on your CPU, and your file size, pretty much Fraps has come in now with their half size, so the file sizes aren't as big, but this one's pretty much the same as well. But you can also get a larger file size and better quality if you wanted to. So I'm just going to go over the settings. The ignore settings, you want to, if you're using Open Broadcaster, you may want to do it with Xsplit. It's not given me a warning before, but you want to put it on to ignore this program so that it doesn't interfere with it. Your overlay settings, I've just left these as defaults. You know, it's pretty obvious what they do. It shows what's in the corner and when you're recording what it does and what colours they are. So mine's just yellow, and it shows the video FPS and then the actual FPS it's recording at. So this is quite an important tab. This is your folder settings. So what you want to do is you want to add a folder. Now what I've got is I've got a spare SSD, so I have my games on one and I record to another. Now what you want to find is you want to find a SSD that's very fast. If you're wanting to record at 1080p at 30 FPS, then I think 80 megabytes per second, 80 to 90 megabytes per second is really what you want. I have 94 and it stays at 30 fine. Like, you can find if it doesn't, then you'll lose. If it's not fast enough, then you'll lose frames per second. So I can just show you on local disk C. I don't use this, so what you want to do is you want to add one right to where you want it to go. So I've changed the folder, and then you test it. You've got to benchmark it. So you run benchmark, and this will test how fast your your hard drive or SSD is. So this one's very fast, it's 100, so if I wanted to I could record probably 1080p at 60 FPS to this. Well, although actually it's slower, which doesn't make sense because before it has shown up faster. But yeah, so I just added one folder into this. This is all I want to save it to, so I'm going to remove that. Your next tab is your hotkeys. Everything. Mine's, I think it might be default, but I might have changed it. I think I might change it to the Fraps settings, as that's what I'm used to. So F9 to record as in games and stuff. You don't find that it uses F9 that much. This is your important tab anyway. So what you want to do is you want to download the Lagarif lossless codec. This codec's really good. This is what makes it not harmful, should I say, on your CPU. Really great. I'll put the download link in the description, and then you just want to use the default settings for that. There are other ones, I don't know what it comes on as default, as I've changed it, but obviously you can use Fraps one there, exactly there if you want. Clipping, I've not changed that. I don't really mess with that. Clipping or margin, I think you can change like the size. Like if you're using it to record your desktop, then you could obviously clip so it didn't have the bar in or the buttons at the side like mine does. Frame rates, I use 29.97 FPS. You can use 30. I don't really have a preference, it's just that looks cooler. But obviously when you're uploading to YouTube, if you're just going to put this file straight into Sony Vegas and render it, then YouTube limits it to 30 FPS. But then if you want to record for slow-mo or cinematics or anything like that, then you want it 60 FPS. This is an important part. I don't know too much about this, I just kind of guessed. If you want just to file, record, and save it as a file, and you put file output. But then if you also want to stream, you need to make sure that your direct show output is ticked as well. So you have two file formats you can choose from, AVI or RAWCap. RAWCap's obviously very big. This is pretty much similar to your fraps, so RAWCap would be your full size and AVI is your half size. Your options, I've just left these as default. Include mouse cursor, include overlay, synchronize video FPS, left them default. Scaling, I just put 100 because I don't want to scale down anything like that. I'll come back to the audio tab afterwards, as this is quite an important one if you want to, or you can just make it very easy for yourself, and I'll show you afterwards. Your screenshot settings, I've left this at default. I don't really use it to screenshot anything. Advanced, I've unticked everything and put my process threads to 8, not limited any FPS. You need to check what your CPU is, because that decides how many processing threads you have. Obviously, the better the CPU, the more threads you have. Global settings, this is pretty much just simple stuff. Pray. Okay. This is just simple stuff. Disable print screen snapshots. I might tick that because I don't use it. Check updates. Profile icon size, small size. Show trade task icon. That just means it will show down there. Hide when minimized. So that means when it minimizes, it will go into your tray. Information. So you also have these three tabs here. I have no clue what they do. This one I'm guessing is converting your RAWCap. So it comes with a tool to do that, but obviously you can do that with other software. This one's fixing it, I don't know what that is. I'm guessing you might have a problem, it might not open properly, so it may be able to fix it. But if it does that, that's pretty impressive, because sometimes you might have had a corrupt file and been really annoyed that you can't get it back. And then you've also got this, I have no clue, someone could probably comment and tell me. But this one is quite important. So this is your output for streaming. If you wanted to use it as a stream output, then you have 4 different outputs you can have. I don't use any of these, I just use output 1. So this is, I've just left this as, I want this the same as what I record my video in, so it makes it easier. 1920 by 1080, so that's your 1080p HD. Same frame rate, 29.97. And your other important is your blank image file. So as I'll show you, when you go in a game, if you're not recording, then nothing will show as your output. But if you are recording, then obviously the game will show. So this is your image that you want to show when you're not recording, but you're still streaming, if that makes any sense. With Twitch and with Xsplit, and Open Broadcaster, you can just put an image and it's very simple. But this is just nice to have it, so if your stream does stop, if you do get kicked from a game or something, then this is obviously there instead of anything else, so you don't get caught in your background or something like that. That's pretty much it. There's also the audio, so this is where it gets really interesting actually. So for fraps, this is why I love using this software as well over fraps. For fraps, it records all your audio, everything together. So like if you've got a really nice clip, but you're also hanging around with mates in TeamSpeak, you're not going to be able to, that clip's obviously going to have the audio of your teammates on it, so it's going to be quite annoying, you can't really use it for anything nice. But this piece of software is amazing, and you can put all your different audio inputs on different lines, but for that you obviously need your virtual audio cable. This piece of software is also great. The shame or bad side is it's about 20 to 30 quid as well. So if you wanted to record this way, you're going to have to splash out about 40 to 50 quid. So obviously that's a downside about it, but there is obviously other ways to get it but I did it the legitimate way, as it is totally worth it, and these licenses obviously last a lifetime, so there's not any problems with it. It's a one-off payment. So what you're going to want to do with virtual audio cable is you'll install it, and then in the folder you'll get this exe here, which is called audio transfer applications. Before streaming, any time you're recording, if you want to do your audio settings this way to record different inputs, then you're going to have to open this every time you want to play, but they simply minimize into your tray. So on your first one, you want line 1, wave in, and then your output to whatever you use. So I use my Logitech headset when playing. I copied these settings off someone else, which was great, so thank you for recommending them. So for this one you want 100 and buffers 5, and then you press start, and there you go, it's working. This one you want line 2. You can only have a maximum of 2 lines with this. I think with other versions you can get more, but you only need the very basic. And you want this to go to your headset as well. So you want this set at 100 and this set at 5. So now, if you go onto here, playback devices, you'll have several devices. So obviously at the moment I'm just using my speakers, I'm not playing, but when you're recording you want to set your line 1 as your default device and your default communication device. So what this does is all the sound will come in line 1, your game sound, and it will record, and then anything else, line 2, and that will record. So on Dxtory what you want to do is every single line you have coming in, you'll want, I think I've got one too many here, so I wouldn't need this Logitech speakers because that's just going to be everything called together. So everything called together is going to come in on this line. My microphone obviously is separate, so you want that to come in because these two won't record your microphone, I don't think. And then this is line 1 and this is line 2. So when I get a file and put it in Sony Vegas, it doesn't actually work with Premiere Pro for some reason, I don't know why. It may be to do with the codec, so I might have to make sure that it works. Have to find it online anyway. So what you could just do is you could just have this set as your Logitech headset and your microphone, but with this line 1 and 2 what it enables you to do is you have 4 different sound outputs, so that's really good for recording. Obviously it means that when you get a nice clip that you want to use but it has your mate speaking on it, you can delete them. So on TeamSpeak it's really simple to use as well, so all you have to do is go settings, options, and capture, you just use your microphone. But playback, so you want your playback to come through line 2. So anything you want where people are speaking, you want to come through line 2. And then your gameplay obviously comes through line 1. So when you put the clip onto Sony Vegas, you'll have your video, your microphone, your headset, line 1 and line 2. So your microphone's going to record your voice, the headset's going to record everything, so you might as well just delete that. Line 1's going to have your gameplay, and line 2 is going to have all your mates speaking. But it's really simple, it's so easy to do, and that is the one advantage to using Dxtory over Fraps, especially if you want to have some really great footage for montages or anything like that. But obviously when you're playing a game, all these minimize into your tray, so I've got Dxtory and then my 2 audio repeaters, and just leave them on for when you're recording. So next I'm going to go through Xsplit Broadcaster. I've gone off this a bit as since the new update and they've been hacked, my max keyframes hasn't been steady, so on Twitch my stream's actually not been shown as excellent like it should be, and has been shown at OK or average or whatever it is. But the usability is excellent on this. If I could use this and it worked fine, I would always use it, it's amazing. But obviously this costs a yearly subscription, but if you're a keen streamer then it's definitely worth it. But I'd wait until they sort out some of their problems. They've been hacked, so their support's gone down. Normally their support is excellent, support's always been there, the forum's excellent, but at the moment it's offline for maintenance and has been for a good week or 2. So I've gone off using this and started using Open Broadcaster. So it's really simple to set up. You just go Tools, General Settings. So your profile, that's yourself, General. So disable aero theme. This depends what you want to do and depends what you want people to see. So disable aero theme will mean that your desktop will not show and it cannot record your desktop. I'm using Fraps to record this, so that doesn't matter at the moment. Enable virtual camera output. I don't know why you'd want that. I suppose you can use this to record video, but I use Dxtory. But this also has great camera capture, game capture, sorry. But I use Dxtory because it's less strain and you can use a different codecs. Enable game source. You've obviously got to have a license to do that, I think. Hide from screen region. That means that when you record and you're minimizing a game or anything like that, then you won't be able to see this. And enable optimize render. This is just going to be default, so it's up to you. I just leave all the defaults at defaults. Although you are recording with Dxtory, Dxtory doesn't have the audio coming into Xsplit, I don't think, so you need to make sure you have this setting right. So you need to make sure that you have your microphone selected and that you use Windows XP sound. Silent detection, I don't know if it does work or not, but I have got it ticked. I think it started working in this latest update, so that could be a good thing. But you can also use, the good thing about virtual audio cable is you can use TeamSpeak as well, so that you can record just your, you could use your line 2 and use a different user to stream through instead. But that's a more complicated thing and I probably won't go through that at all. So that's everything. You need to make sure you have your resolutions ticked. See, although I'm recording, that's the good thing about Dxtory as well, is I can record in 1080p, but then I can stream at a lower resolution, so it's not as much strain. With other games, like older games, my system's actually alright and can do it, but I find with Battlefield 4, when I'm streaming, if I try and stream in 1080p, it really struggles and I get like my CPU at 99%. Just moaning again, as per. So, if I go on my computer, I'll show you. Properties, is it? Yeah, see. 7.8. I've got an Intel Core i7. I don't clock it, I don't bother clocking it. 16 gigabytes, but my game is still, I struggle to stream at 1080p with Battlefield 4. And that's even with Battlefield 4 on low settings, so I don't know. But then also, to broadcast, you can use this to locally record, but obviously that only records at what you stream at, and it's if your game's trying to stream at the same, if you're trying to stream your game and then record, it's a lot of CPU. So we'll go into the settings. As I've had problems with this, what I tend to do is I tend to actually use a setup wizard. So I put in web authorization, my name, so you can follow me on Twitch if you want, Niceaimwendy. Server automatic, but you can also pick from your drop down menu. But it would just, when you go to record, it would just say, and you can test your bandwidth. So what I've got is your codec is your default, bitrate is whatever your internet speed is. So you want to do a speed test, but when I do a speed test, I get about 10. I can show you actually. So what you want your settings set at is your upload. You want it about, not as much as your upload. So if you had a 5, then obviously you go 3. If you had 2, then I'd say 1, maybe 1.5 pushing it. And obviously what your bitrate is also depends what you'll be able to stream at. With a lower bitrate, you can't stream as much. So the general settings, Twitch is very strict on their settings, so your max keyframe must be set at 2. Your encoder, this depends on your CPU. For Battlefield 4 I use very fast. Maybe if I use super fast then maybe I'd stream at 1080, but I've not tried it. But for pretty much every other game I use faster, maybe fast and sometimes even medium. default stage resolution, and then your codecs. You can get some extra encoder on the internet, but I don't think it makes much difference. You want your codec for encoding to AAC, which is also, you see both of these, you can't change them because that's Twitch chooses them. You want your bit rate, 128 is sufficient, and 41 stereo obviously. You don't ever want to use this automatically save recordings on local drive because it'll be terrible. It's rubbish. You know, you want to, if you are going to use that, you want to use your automatic, you want to use this to stream, and then you want to use your local recording. And interweave audio and video in one RTMP channel. I think that's for obviously if you're recording local drive. But as I said, I use Setup Wizard, does it for me, and Twitch goes up to 720p and 2100 it recommends. Very simple. So obviously you can use local recording. I've had that set up, but it doesn't let you choose your resolution. It will record in the same resolution as what you're streaming, whereas if you're using Dxtory, you can record in 1080 and then you can stream at 720. But I obviously had ultra high, but that also infringes your CPU. So resolution, I had 720. You can use higher, I use it for lower games, but for Battlefield 4 I struggle with that. Frame rate 25 because I record at 30, but for streaming, my stream I can only get like 2100 there, so I use a lower FPS. It doesn't really matter because I'm not recording it, I'm not editing it, so 25 FPS is sufficient. And then your scale viewport is, you know, that's if you want to change the size of what this looks like. So I could use 50, but that doesn't really affect me. I just use actual unless I'm streaming at 1080p. So for Xsplit you can use game source, which is very good, it's sufficient, you know, but obviously it means that it has to encode it itself. Whereas if you're using Dxtory, you've got your camera and you've got Dxtory Video 1. Now when I'm streaming, if I was streaming, this would actually show up as my image that is set on Dxtory. But as I'm not, it's nothing. But this is really easy, you know, you've got your different scenes that you can cut to, you can change your audio output, your micro input, and you can add background images. So you can just add media file. So I could add this background, stretch it to what I want, and there you go, that's what would show up while I wasn't streaming. And then I can put if it's below, if you had a game source and you put your game source above it and this below, so that when your game source closed, this would show up. But that is pretty much it for Xsplit. As I said, I don't use it because at the moment they seem to be having a problem, and it seems that others have had the problem when I've gone onto the chat. They've had a problem with the max keyframe interval not staying at 2. It's been like all over the place. I've had it up to 5, up to 9. So I don't know, I can't get any support, I can't bother to email them. I'm just waiting till their forums on because their forum support is superb, as I said, but it doesn't seem to be staying. So at the moment I use Open Broadcaster. So we'll go on to that next. So I'm not very good at Open Broadcaster. I've only just recently started using it. It is very good, I've heard. It's free, obviously, that's the big plus side to it. You can do a lot with it, but it's a bit more complicated and not as user friendly, I'd say. But you know, you can check for updates, it's all free. Profile, just the default. So I'll just go through the settings. Settings are very simple though. English, setting profile. I'll change that to Niceaimwendy. Minimize, you can minimize it to their tray icon. So encoding, what you do is use CBR, enable CBR padding, quality, I don't know, you can't change that. You just want to enter your max bitrate, which is the same thing as discussed for Xsplit, so I obviously use 2100 as that's what Xsplit recommended. Audio encoding, use exactly the same, AAC, 128, 48 kHz stereo. Broadcast settings, live stream, you can use it to put output as well. I use Twitch, you can obviously do all these other, YouTube, all sorts. I've just lost my key. You choose, for this though you can't use automatic, so you have to actually choose, and then you put your stream key in here which you get off Twitch, but don't show that to anyone because that's just yours. Obviously changing these settings are all default for whatever streaming service you use, and that's why your dashboard link is the same. So I just left these as default, so 10, 0, dashboard link, put that in as it has a button. Start stream hotkey, stop stream hotkey, don't bother using them, I just click it and go. Don't want to save them settings. So your video adapter, and then this is where you choose your resolution. As I said, I record at 1080, but then I stream at 720. So I use 720, resolution downscale, 720. You can choose the monitor. You can choose it to be the same as the monitor, sorry. Everything stays the same, 25 FPS as before. I might try putting that up to 29.97, as this is a bit less demanded on your CPU compared to Twitch, compared to Xsplit. But I have found that I still can't stream in 1080 on this while playing Battlefield 4. Your audio, you obviously want this to record your normal, your line 1, line 2, or your headset. If you're using all your split audio, you want your headset so that it records everything, and you obviously want your microphone as well. You can use push to talk if you don't want your breathing. That's what I find I do a lot, breathing, which is bad, but this does also have a microphone noise gate, unlike Xsplit. Well, Xsplit does have it, but we don't know if it works or not, as it's not as user friendly as this one. None, I just left them. You can change them obviously. I'm very simple because I'm a noob. Desktop boost, mic, just leave them as default. Advanced, this is where you can, if you have a good CPU, it comes in very useful. So use multi-threading, which is very good. I just put it as normal, as I don't want to crash my computer. If it's, because I'm using Dxtory, that'll be using CPU as well, and Battlefield 4 will be using CPU, so I just want it all to be normal. Disable encoding, well, I don't know, that doesn't really matter because you don't preview while streaming, just leave that. So this is like your Twitch settings here, so you've got your different presets, very fast obviously, your default, high, max keyframe interval for Twitch is 2, I've not tried it on 0 when streaming to Twitch yet, so that could be interesting. Use CRF, leave default, leave it default, bind to interface. I just leave that and that, don't bother going in that. Maybe if you're more advanced than me you might know. So this is quite an interesting thing, you can preview your microphones. So this is where this also comes in over Xsplit at the moment, as they haven't got their silence detection sorted yet, and this one's very user friendly. So if I don't speak, here's your preview. So you can see that my microphone went to about there, and that is my close threshold. So my microphone will be closed until, I think once it goes above that, microphone will be on. And then when I'm talking, blah blah blah, it'll go above that. Oh no, sorry. When I'm not talking, your open threshold is your main one. So when you're talking, you want it to go above this, and that will put your microphone on. But to get rid of hysteresis, they use a closed threshold as well. So that means that when it falls below this line, that's when it turns off, because you don't want it to be, you don't want it to turn on and off at the same point, because it means that it'll go above and below the line, it'll turn it on and off, on and off, on and off. So that's what this little gap is for, it's hysteresis, and they say about 4 to 6 decibels gap in between. So that's it. You for this, it's very simple to add things. Well, not very simple, it's a bit more complicated than Xsplit. That's why I don't have anything else, and that's why on Dxtory it's very good to have that picture, because I don't have a clue how to use this really. So when I'm not streaming, that picture will just show up here. So obviously you have your different scenes, which is just like your Xsplit, but you make a new scene. So this could be desktop, and obviously your sources, you'd add a source, so you'd add your video capture device, Windows capture, blah blah blah. I don't want to go through that because I'm not capturing my Windows. But obviously I have my different scenes, so I can split between them. But for this, I have my video capture device. So you add video capture device 2, and then here it is. Here's all your different things. So what I actually use is Video 1, so you have your 1 to 4. You can use Xsplit, as it said, Xsplit does come out, so you could, in theory, use Xsplit to record and put it as an output and then stream with this. But I don't know why you'd want to do that. You have all these options. I just leave them opacity 100. That's quite clever because you could make your webcam not overview your HUD instead. But I use custom resolution as I don't want this to be 1920. I actually use it at 720. So in fact I'll go onto this one and edit this one. So what I use is custom resolution 1280 by 720, 30 FPS, as that's what I'm recording in. I just make that match my output, and I disable the audio input device, as this can record your headset. This records your headset anyway in the settings, so you don't want your double audio. And I've tested this and it works fine. You don't want double audio. So you can preview your stream. At the moment I've just got black screen, and then my microphone and everything like that. Plugins. So you got your noise gate, your game capture. So blah blah blah. But you can't stream while you're previewing anyway. And then you've obviously got your different streams. That pretty much rounds it up. Like I said, this is a great way to stream. There are no cons to it, but there are several pros. So I would use this if you're an avid streamer or recorder. Dish out the 40 quid. That's all you have to pay. And these two, they work excellent. You have virtual audio cable and your Dxtory work amazing. So you won't have to pay for them again. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I'll try and answer them. I'm not the best at this. I'm not very good at Open Broadcaster. I only started using it started using it yesterday because I couldn't get the results I wanted with Xsplit and their support's still down. But yeah, that's another story. Any questions, leave them below. Hope I haven't bored you with my monotone voice, and make sure you subscribe. Cheers. So guys, I just wanted to show you what it looks like when I'm recording. In the top right hand corner you can obviously see what it is. The video is recording. The video is, so in game at the moment I've got 80 FPS, which is excellent, can't complain about that. And then the video is actually recording at 30. This is low settings, so we'll change it up to high, ultra. I don't know, maybe ultra might work. Probably lower my FPS down a bit. So yeah, as you can see, I'm on ultra. I'm only getting about 30 FPS, but it's still recording at a steady 30 FPS. Maybe drops down a little bit. So, but I do actually have it recording at 29.97. So as you can see, that would actually be fine. Streaming, I can stream fine, and this will probably take up about 70%, maybe 80% of my CPU. So obviously settings will change for you, but depending on your CPU and stuff like that. But give it a go. Try this recording way, and I don't think you'll ever go back.